let's see here. Just waiting for the gameplay to kick in. All right, I think we're rolling here. Looks like we're live. Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is show number 247, your place for some fun Xbox talk and more on Sunday nights. I'm Invader, and I am back after taking last week off. I had Canadian Thanksgiving festivities to attend to, but hey, it's great to be back. I'm pretty refreshed. For this show, however, lots to talk about on this roundtable. Scorn has finally released. We'll give you our thoughts on this psychological horror title. Also, Microsoft and Meta announced a new partnership with VR and cloud gaming. Does this deal mean anything going forward for Xbox? Well, we'll talk about that. And Phil doing some shelf teases. Will we be seeing some new hardware in the future? We'll discuss that. All this and more. But first, let me introduce all of my illustrious panel members, starting off with Centurion. Brother, how you been?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm playing some games, Mass Effect 3, checking out Scorn, getting ready for Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed. Don't know why. I'm looking forward to that game. But, man, it's been a little bit... Let's just say last week we didn't have you here for the conversation, so I'm excited for tonight's conversation.
Yeah, well, hey, thanks for holding down the fort last week. You did pretty good there, buddy.
I appreciate that. I feel like I was spray painting the walls and causing a mess.
All right. No need to get messy. You know, we're a pretty clean show. But otherwise, good stuff, man. Good stuff. And can't wait for the conversation, especially with Scorn, because I know you're looking forward to that. All right. Moving on down the list here. Tim Dog, buddy, how you been?
Been good. Been pretty crazy couple of weeks with I was going to a lot of Mets games and they blew watching them in the end of the season they blew it, so that was kind of depressing. But other than that, good spirits. I got a lot to talk about. We got some good subjects today, and I can't wait to talk about Scorn.
Yeah, well, hey, bud, don't worry about your team blowing it. I'm not really a baseball fan per se, but those Blue Jays, ooh, let's just say they really... oh, man, that was bad. Oh, well. But moving on down the list here, let's see, Mr. Crusader, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. And Tim, listen, I'm a Pirates fan in honor of my grandmother, so I understand teams blowing it. They never had something to blow to begin with, but
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, no, this week's been pretty good. I've been playing a lot of horror games and a lot of Peggle. If anyone knows what Peggle is.
Oh yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Peggle. Wow.
Yeah. I was watching a YouTuber streamer named Doug, and he always does these Peggle things with his chat, and I was like, I want to play some Peggle now, because I'm very easily influenced into things. I will not be here chat for the Scorn discussion, because that game literally makes me ill to look at. It's just too gross for me. So I will be back for the chats after that. So just so no one's confused as to why I'm not giving my input on Scorn, it's because I can't. Physically can't. I have the gameplay that Invader has up on the screen over on my monitor that's turned off so that I don't see it, but I can still see chat because I have a sliver of the window on my turned on monitor. So
it's all good, man. It's all good. Don't worry. Hey, it's not for everyone. Honestly, I get it. So no worries. I'm sure a few people in the chat feel the same way. But you know what, dude? You're a bad influence on me. I've got myself a whole bunch of Magic the Gathering commander decks just because of you. No, just kidding. Being a 40k nut, I kind of like collectible cards too. But man, I'm addicted right now.
I have 25 sealed commander decks sitting on a bookshelf on my wall, so I understand.
Yeah. By the way, I also picked up a couple of the special mats too, the battle mats, whatever they're called.
Oh,
For
the
40K.
playmats, yeah,
Yeah, the play
yeah.
mats for there was a couple for 40K that got released. So picking those up tomorrow. Picking them up.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, moving on down here. General MLD buddy, how you been?
Hey, doing pretty good here. Been playing some October themed games lately. Just games like Metal Hellsinger, Resident Evil Revelations 2, nice little spin off game, Bioshock Remastered, Proteus on Game Pass. And I already started Scorn, but we'll play that. I think I'll finish it next week. That game is something else. But we'll get into that pretty soon.
Yes, and I have been diving into Scorn as well, as you can tell by the gameplay. So guys, Shockley may or may not be joining us. He's out partying it up at the moment, but he may stop on by. Quick reminder to everyone tuning in to hit the like button and share this out, as it really does help us with the algorithm. And hey, just let more people know that we are currently live. But guys, with that said, let's get straight away into things, into some of these topics. And guys, let's talk Scorn. A little title that we've been waiting for a while. It's finally out on Xbox and PC. It's available through Game Pass. I've been seeing a lot of varying reaction to it, but hey, I'm curious what the panel thinks of this nightmarish title. I guess the nightmarish is a good word for that. Again, I've spent some time with it. I could go back and forth on it. Centurion, but I'll hit you up first, as I know that you've had this one on your radar since it first got announced. Have you spent any time with this game yet? And if so, what are your thoughts on it?
Yes, I've spent some time in this game. I've put about 4.5, 5 hours into it already. I'm judging from the achievements list and the fact that I am in a fight right now for the 4th gun. I'm wanting to say about 3/4 of the way through the entire game. Obviously from saying about, putting 5 hours into it, it's not going to be the world's largest barn burner, but that's where definitely, I'm not going to say it's a horrible game, but it's different. I was hoping for a little bit more story, a little bit more interactiveness. Definitely, you are just like spat into this world with not even so much of a introduction or a tutorial, and you just got to fumble your way around. Once I figured out the first puzzle, it's kind of started kind of going from there. And just going along with the whole theme of things, figuring out the combat. I mean, it's definitely not one of those titles that you're just going to go in and shoot everything in sight. You got to pick your battles, especially in the beginning, because ammunition is so scarce. Your ammo clip, the spare ammunition you could carry on you is not infinite. You can only fill it up so much. I'm wanting to say that the game is more of an art piece, at least in my opinion. I mean, it's been very interesting to stare at. Definitely a very good homage to H.R. Geiger. And for any of you who didn't know who H.R. Geiger is, that is the individual who was responsible for all the concept art and some of the background art and creature art in the original Alien movie. Because he had a very, very good blend of being able to blend the human form with mechanical horror style. I mean, if you go and look at some of his art is definitely very, very interesting to go look at. And this is definitely, there's been moments where you're sitting there like, oh man, I get those vibes like you'd get from Alien, and other Alien movies. You can also just, it is a very, very grotesque game. I mean, like the fact that you're pushing a creature around with full intent of you are going to completely mutilate this creature, to somehow get machinery to turn on to open a door. It is definitely a little bit of a blood and guts game. I could see why Crusader, it's not his cup of tea. definitely, it's a very interesting concept piece. It's definitely a good thing to check out on Game Pass. I would definitely, but that's where I have to be the individual that says, do you go out and buy this game? I mean, if you are absolutely enjoying something that is a simple walk around simulator, doing puzzles in a very, very grotesque, nightmarish environment, and you enjoy figuring your way through things without getting aggravated at not being told how to do it, this is your game. I'm definitely one of those that are glad that I picked it up on Game Pass. Yeah, it's been on my radar, but I am glad that I am playing it on Game Pass. My wife even made the joke. She's been sitting here watching me play, and that's where I kind of have to go off of her opinion a little bit. She's been watching me play. She's even asked, "What is this game about?" And I was like, "There's no story, so it's just walking around doing puzzles." And now that she found, when she looked at the achievement list with me and found out I was already 3/4 of the way through the game, she even asked again, "What have you been doing? It feels like you've just been aimlessly wandering around doing stuff." And that's where, from at least an outsider looking in, I'm a hardcore gamer. I'm enjoying it. There's a lot there for me to take in, but from somebody from her perspective, it's definitely not the game where people are going to be running to the store to go buy an Xbox for Scorn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, I can understand that sentiment because, well, it is in a lot of ways a walking simulator. There's not a lot of combat. There is some, uh, but a lot of it is just taking in the atmosphere, the surroundings, and kind of extrapolating things. I've spent about 4 hours with the game, 4.5, something like that. So I'm not as far along as you, Centurion, but I'm probably not too far off.
The combat level is starting to pick up. I started screwing around with something that is created some kind of a creature that is pretty much a boss battle. I'll at least leave it at that. And it was something that was completely unexpected, because I mean, you've been going around fighting these little minuscule creatures, and then every once in a while you'll encounter this one that walks around on 4 legs that's like a tank. But all of a sudden this thing comes walking up, and you realize, like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to fight this thing. And now you're like, let's just say, when you die, it's not like you just like all of a sudden get picked up and you just pick up where you died. No, it'll actually send you back to the very beginning of the battle. So you better start learning how to fight and get comfortable with the fighting style created in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I've been seeing a lot. That a lot of people are burned by the way the game saves, and if you die, you really get punished. So
I don't want to say it's been that punishing. I'll at least defend the game, not to interrupt, but it's like the minute you engage a door and you have finished a puzzle, the game checkpoints. So if you die between doing that and the next puzzle, which is not very, like, shall I say, like, I was not thrown back like we're like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to do 20-30 minutes of the game all over again. I would probably say the longest amount of time that I was thrown back was like 5, maybe 10 minutes. So it's not egregious compared to, like, I mean, dude, we all remember playing games back on the Nintendo, man, on Mario, where if you got a game over, you had to start that whole sandwich over again.
Yeah, I just think it's because it's a slow game, like a slower pace. That's why people are kind of like, oh, I have to go do this again, and so on. But no,
Well,
I get it.
finding the run button was that was a godsend to me. Finding the run button, I'm like,
Me
oh,
too.
you can run.
Man. Yeah, I mean, thankfully I haven't had to really do that. I know what you mean though. But I mean, graphically I love the game, and it just there's so much detail around, and you really need to take in the environment, and it just really adds to the atmosphere. I mean, everything just seems to go hand in hand. That's why I think the game does so well, is that you're looking around, there's no, like, you're extrapolating things from everything that you see in the environment. The environment is the story. So you just kind of have to. Oh, that and the puzzles, I suppose. But yeah, it's just like everything. You get dropped in pretty much, and there's no navigation, no prompts, no nothing, and you have to do everything yourself. So actually, in a lot of ways, I like that. Actually, if anything, it makes it a lot more scary that you don't know what's going on. There's no direction, and you're just kind of literally alone. So
Well, the One Direction thing that really made me crack up is literally I kept dying because I'm like, how the hell do you get health in this game? Look, I didn't know I was carrying it around on me the whole damn
Yeah.
time
yeah,
until I went on the controls chart and I'm like, there's a health button. What the hell?
yeah, and there's little booths that you can go to. Like if you search
Yeah.
enough, like you can find where you can like get like I guess well it's not to be squeamish everybody, but it's blood. So
Uh, yeah, it's something that you like reload with health and you get these little orbs on it. And yeah, you reload it with blood. And literally that little thing, like as you already know from playing the game, that little handheld thing that shows you the health on top, it shows you the bullets on the side and the shotgun shells in the middle. And that's where refilling that thing, you got to find your health stations, you got to find your ammo stations, and you can only use these stations once, everybody. It's not like you
Yeah.
can keep going back and reloading that thing. The minute you
yeah,
use that station up, it's a done deal.
believe me, I tried.
Good to know.
Oh man, but I don't know, overall though, are you liking it?
I was gonna call it quits about an hour and a half, 2 hours in, but I kept pushing through, and now I'm getting to that point where I'm just like, I've made it this far. I might as well see how far I could go. What's really made me keep going is the achievements
Mm.
because it's kind of fun. You start off and everybody, it's got achievements for every chapter you complete, and you're just watching the percentage rate for the achievement go down and down. Now to this point, I'm getting rare achievements, and only 5% of the people who have played the game have made it to this point. So I'm just like, man, I wonder how low this is gonna go getting to the end of the game.
I'll be honest, like I'm seeing a lot of people get burnt out by like again just like the first like 30 minutes, something like that. Remember that first puzzle? You're in that like big open space, and then you have like these little rooms you got to go to, and I think you talked about too the little guy that you get, and you have to like kill him off in order to progress.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing.
Yeah.
Once you get the guy, it's easy. It's getting the egg to hatch when you're just staring at all those little no pun intended fleshy balls up on the wall, and you're like, what the hell do I do with these things?
Well, there's a sequence of things that you have to do, and I honestly like I was not enjoying myself at first with that, and I think that
Oh
I
no,
no, and
it is a slow burn for sure.
I can understand like to be honest, I think that they could have done a much better job at like just introducing the player to things. Start off with like smaller puzzles. Like I thought that was a little much personally, but after I got through that, I felt much better with the game, and I started to really enjoy myself. So, but that's me personally. Timmy, I mean, I would love to know your opinion on Scorn because again, I know you're playing it. You're playing it right now, in fact.
Yes. The game is insane. I honestly, am very surprised how much I like this game. Never really a guy for puzzles, but I find the puzzles pretty good. They're not easy to start. And for me, I went into this thinking I was going to play it for 20 minutes and then just get sick of it. It caught me from the beginning, and Centurion really summed it up well and described it well. You're thrown right in the middle of it. But for me, all of that was the charm of the game so far, because it just makes you feel like I envisioned myself like waking up in this world and where it would go and what's new to me and how I could get out of it. So I played the game like that, and the graphics are great, and it has two things going for me that, for me, are big things with games, and they can keep me in interacting with them, and that's very good graphics and maybe the best sound design I've ever heard. Okay, in a video game, the sound design is absolutely top notch. It's so atmospheric. Uh, to go along with the graphics, the sound. Like I play it with headphones on, and I am just. It's like I'm playing two games. It's like because I'm so impressed with the sound and the design, the things that you hear, like just there's so many little things that go on that are like either disturbing or scary, or just odd, quite frankly, that the game has drawn me in fully. It is honestly, I feel like game, just like movies, games can have cult classics. This right now is shaping up to be a cult classic for me. I would pay money to play a sequel to this. As far as I'm going, listen. I'm about 8 hours in. I'm not gonna lie. I got completely lost on the last act, where I had to actually go online and see what I did. But it was just a missing door I was missing. Wasn't anything puzzle wise because the puzzle I just cleared real quick. But yeah, man, I'm fully in love with this game right now, and it is the hallmark of Game Pass because this game's not for everyone. You got a guy on the panel who really doesn't want to hear about it because it is disgusting, and it is gross and gruesome, and it's it checks those boxes though because I kind of like those stuffs in movies. I like gore. I like Alien. I like scary. I like the design, the odd design that they have. But that's not for everyone. So here you have a game that's you know fulfilling me as any game would, AAA or whatever. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun playing this game, and I'm having a lot of interesting ways of going about it, like the way I feel, how it is, like, and the way I'm going about it. It's really building up, and I haven't finished it. I'm on the last act, so I'm right there. I have to say the achievements are pretty awesome. I love the way they did it. They give big, giant achievements for pretty easy stuff. Where it's not easy, but it's a little trying. The puzzles, there's a couple of puzzles that can be really frustrating, but if you stick with them, you'll get them. But I have to say, this game surprised me. This game is easily an 8.5 for me. It is a game that I would love for a sequel. And it just, like I said, it shows why Game Pass is, what it is. I mean, I've played Power Washer, which I loved. I played Grounded, which it was just really cool. I played this. I played other odd games in a year that they've really kind of, missed the boat with AAA. We've discussed that already with the delays. But yeah, I'm satisfied as a gamer. I have to say that, this was a real pleasant surprise. And, it's only $40. So I think that if you consider that and the price and what they're doing, it's a fair game, and I feel like the Metacritic is probably about right because you have people that aren't going to like it, but still 72 for a horror game is pretty good, especially a game with this type of graphics, like the gore and the gruesome, brutal aspect. I'm just happy for it. And I have to say one more thing: if there's a game to be made for virtual reality, this is the game to make. It would be a perfect fit for virtual reality. Um, Ebb Software, shout out to them. Fantastic job. You have a fan. My Twitter, I joked around about it a little, but there are people that really are loving this game. And there are people that are justifiably so frustrated because the game in the beginning starts slow. But like when you get that thing and you do that first puzzle and you see that, as Centurion said, that human whatever thing that is in it, that you basically, I'm gonna say maybe a little bit of a spoiler, but just to show you how brutal the game is, you basically hit a like you do the puzzle and then you basically put you smash the thing's head in and it's bleeding all over the place, and you take it in a cart to another location where I won't even describe what goes on there, but it's really wacky, crazy, alien, and I would recommend it. I'm giving it an 8.5 so far.
The noise that creature made when you first drop it out of the egg made my wife walk in the room and be like, "What the hell is that noise?" It's that weird thing right there. Um, so
that part,
definitely, there's some interesting details of the environment with the noises and just the stuff that goes on.
so true. I mean, I just couldn't believe when, like you said, when that whole thing happened. I was like, and then you did what you had to do, and then that makes that noise. It really is. That's kind of really what got me, got me, going for the game. That's what kept me. I was just like, oh, okay, this is nuts. And from there, it's kept me, and I'm fully in. Like, I want to finish the game tonight. I'm off tomorrow. I have a day off. Take out sick, I think, because it was sick Friday. So I have another day. I see the chiropractor or whatever, and play this game to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how impressive it is. So that's, well, if you don't like it, don't try it. But if you want to try a game with variety, Xbox definitely has variety right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean it's again, this is gonna be one of those titles that's gonna be again, just because of the nature of it. Like I knew going into this game from its first reveal trailer that it was gonna be polarizing in a lot of ways just because of the overall design. It's either you're gonna be very curious about it, very interested. Maybe you like the alien like Prometheus kind of universe. Maybe you're into the more grotesque kind of horror stuff. Like again, I am, so naturally I was drawn to it. But again, it's repulsive. I can understand to a lot of people the design. I get it. It's very when you're dealing with body parts and like just the overall organic nature of it. I understand. So I can understand where the reviews are. It's either really like it or really don't like it, because again, it's going to be going off of the art style and the environment, and that environment is basically telling you the story.
Yeah.
Let's
One of the, like, just to give you an example of how gross this game is. You have 4 arms for some reason, and 2 of your arms are sewn in between your appendix or where your stomach is. Time and time you'll see those hands come out, and you're screaming, and blood's flying all over the place. But what's odd is that that's an ancient, like that's a form of healing that went on for a while. That like still to this day goes on, where let's say you had a really bad nose, like if you had like a really bad nose cut, like it was bleeding and need to heal. They actually, this is weird. They cut your scalp above it and they sew it so your nose is underneath your forehead, and they patch up your forehead and you walk around like that. It's crazy stuff. But like I saw a documentary on like, and it's supposedly the results you get from healing are like superb, like unbelievable. and like you could like you when you lift the actual skin of the scalp off your nose, it's like night and day. It fixes itself. So like it has that like intermingled, and there's so many like things that make you question like what the hell is this? But there's something behind it, and that's what really intrigues me. Is that this is these whoever made this game, there's a deeply rooted concept in it, and far beyond my intelligence level, but it's pretty impressive to say the least. Like I do think there's a really deep meaning to a lot of this game, and I would, I would maybe we'll reach out, Invader. I would love to interview the creative director of software for this game because I have some serious questions, and I do think that they would recognize our passion for the game, and I'd come on. So something to think about.
All right, I'll see what I can do on that front. Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to.
I'll ask him. We just got to find out who his name is. I was gonna look it up because that's how many questions I have, or wanna. There's so many things with meaning in it, and it's just it really deserves its own podcast one day, if a spoiler podcast on it, because like I got real questions, like, or what was this? There's meaning to it, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, no, I'd totally be up for that, Tim. We'll definitely look into that and reach out for sure. Because I would love to pick their brains too. There's a lot going on here, and I agree. I think that there's a lot of story to be told. So we'd definitely love to have Ebb Software developers on. Moving on here, General MLD buddy. I know you've been patiently waiting here to put in your 2 cents. I know you've been playing this sucker. How are you been enjoying it so far?
Okay, well, where to start? That's a tough act to follow with Tim there. No, but I definitely had my own good time in this. Like, keep in mind, everyone listening, it's a AAA game that barely made the classification as double A from a small studio. It's clearly not for everyone. Like, anyone who expected this to get like a 90 plus Metacritic is, they weren't like seeing the game for what it is clearly not for everybody. Now, I think most of the budget went into the graphics, I feel, and I think that is the strongest point, because you can't like clamber, you can't like double jump or anything like that. You're very much walking around. You can sprint a little bit, but the atmosphere, the graphics, the mystery, it's inspired by the Alien franchise. Like, there's no hand holding at all. So if you're kind of into that, then I think that's enough to keep you going to the end, because again, it's not a very long game, like depending on how quick you are with the puzzles. Now, I will admit, there was a wall for me at the start. Like, I was just, for the first hour, I was literally just exploring around in the opening area, like seeing the machines, not knowing what they did, and I was like this close to just like quitting, like uninstalling. But then I stumbled upon that there's the first major puzzle, like the eggs on the wall kind of puzzle, and it was frustrating. But part of me's thinking to myself, I can do this. So I keep picking away at it, and eventually, when it clicks into place, it felt very rewarding. Like again, like you come so close to quitting the game, and then to actually do the first major puzzle, it had a sense of accomplishment. I gotta admit, and it was a good feeling. So it's that's gonna keep me going. So there's that. A lot of it's cringe, and that's to put it mildly there. Like, I think some others touched on it already. There's parts where in the beginning, where you literally have to mutilate some creature in order to progress. Like, when it happened, like, I literally like just cringe back in my seat. Like, you feel bad for it, but like in some way you kind of have to do it to get going in the game. So like, the fact that it evoked that kind of emotion, that like you feel pity for it, but also you feel like a little disgusted at the same time. So there's that. I noticed there's no manual save system for anybody listening here. From what I see, it saves at the start of most chapters or puzzles. So there will be that kind of thing to consider once the combat starts, because in the beginning you're just wandering around. You don't get to fight until I'd say halfway through the game, more or less. So there's that. I wouldn't call it horror per se. It's very slow paced, but what it does excel in is tension, like the feeling of dread or like what's around the corner, that kind of thing. Because again, you're dropped into this world knowing literally nothing and just have to go from there. So for a first time player, like there is that feeling, there is that low tension build up. Now, I'm gonna admit, if this was on Game Pass, I probably wouldn't have tried it. But that's and because it does all the reviews, the previews, all the chatter online, it's very divisive, and rightly so. But I'm glad I tried it. Like, I think Game Pass discovery is a real thing. I've played a lot of gems this year that I probably would not have played, admittedly. I wouldn't have bought them unless they were maybe on sale years later. But even then, Game Pass just makes it a lot easy and accessible. Like, worst case, you just uninstall, no big deal. Like, I'm gonna play Plague Tale 2 and Persona 5 this month. So this month's a win for me anyway. Me playing Scorn is just a nice, even bigger bonus. So there's that. And I think a nice touch is also the achievements. They're generous. So that also helps. Like, everyone likes a nice big fat 100 achievement, Like, let's not kid ourselves. We all like seeing that feeling here. And it tells you also how far you're going in the story at the same time. So yeah, I hear it's like a 5-7 hour game, more or less, depending on if you use guides to help you or not. So it's not like it's like a 20-30 hour game. The experiencing this kind of a like a walking kind of thing. Like, it's compact, so that also helps to a degree. And I'm looking forward to finishing it. It's not my game of the year. It certainly could use some improvements because, again, it's a small game. It looks gorgeous, but it is a smaller budget game with a small studio. So there's that. You have to keep that in mind. You have to manage expectations. But that said, I'm enjoying it enough to finish the game, and there's enough good in here to explore for those that like the atmosphere. So yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why a lot of people were thinking this was never a big budget like AAA. It was a small game by a small team. It took a little while again because of the size of the team. Xbox obviously saw something in this title, and I'm glad that they put themselves behind this game and were able to get onto Game Pass, because I'll admit, I don't know, like you suggested, MLD, I don't know if it would have found an audience if it wasn't on some kind of a subscription service. But I don't know. I agree with Tim that I think that this will be a cult hit, a cult classic, because again, there is a lot to this game, and I just feel like the way that it's being presented, that again, there is a lot to like about it. It just, again, you have to be really into the genre, the art style, and so on. It's not going to be for everybody, but I could definitely see it finding its audience. Guys, any other comments about Scorn before we move on? Like, I personally, like, again, I still need to go through it. I probably got another couple hours to go, but I'm enjoying it. But that's about it. What was that? Never mind. But yeah, Crusader, if you're listening in, you can probably tune in now, bud. Looks like we're about to close this off. But Centurion, just to round things out here, is this the game that like you expected? Because I remember you were putting out a video or two about it a while back. You were really excited. Is this game what you expected overall, or is it is it something like different now that it's been released?
No. Okay.
No, not hearing. not hear it. I don't know if you got yourself on mute, Centurion. But let's see.
I was on mute. Oops, my bad. What was your question? Oh my
Oh
god.
no,
I
I
was
was just
trying
saying.
to unmute myself.
Oh no, it's okay, man. Just to make sure, like I was just to round out this topic. Like again, I remember you putting out a video about Scorn a while back. Is this the game that you expected overall, or is it like from what you initially thought? Is it like much different? Were you off a bit? Like just out of curiosity, like is it what you thought it was?
The only reason why I'm going to say I was off is because of the second E3 trailer where they showed like the NPC character, that like the moving, like I still have yet to run into that NPC character. I'll just say that. It's now that I'm looking back at it and really thinking about it, there was a heavy focus on combat in the E3 trailers, but definitely the trailers are as advertised, walking around, picking
I've been
stuff up.
summoned.
What?
I've been summoned.
Yes, we're done talking about the
Okay.
weirdness of it.
Pretty
But
much.
It's no big deal.
Yeah, I would definitely say though that the game, it's what can I say? It's exactly what at least when they said it was based off of H.R. Geiger and his artistic style, that is for sure 100% there. The game feels like a fantasy straight out of his imagination. And it is definitely a good homage to his style of art.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. Guys in the chat, let us know what your thoughts are on Scorn. Again, I'm liking it. And overall, the panel seems to, it seems to be enjoying it, albeit there are some rough spots, but overall, it seems to be it's a very unique game in itself, and I look forward to checking it out. I'll probably get more time with it tomorrow. But yeah, definitely let us know in the comments. Okay, we will move on to our next topic. But guys, if you haven't done so already, please give this show a like, and you know what? Share out this episode, because you know what? We want more people here tuning in live. All right, let's move on to some other news, guys. And earlier this week, Microsoft and Meta announced a rather interesting partnership. This deal between the two brings Microsoft staples such as Windows, Office, Teams, and most interestingly, Xbox to VR. xCloud gaming will be available on Meta's Quest VR headsets, allowing Game Pass Ultimate members to stream games. Let's see, who can I pick on here? Crusader Bud, since you just joined in, I'll pick on you first for this one, my friend. Xbox has been rather, hesitant, to say the least, to go into VR as PlayStation has, and some other game makers. Do you think this partnership with Meta is part of a larger strategy, a larger play for VR in the near future for Xbox and Microsoft overall?
So I don't see a time period where you don't where how do I say this? I don't think if Microsoft was to ever go into VR for gaming that it will be as closed as say Sony's is, where it's basically Sony's headset on Sony's platform and that's it. They do have that Windows mixed reality platform, the like set of APIs that kind of just make like any headset work like generally on PC. And going forward, that's still kind of how I see them working at this point. Maybe one day they'll have their own bespoke one for the console. I think they would just make the HP Reverb, since they worked on that alongside HP and Valve. I think that would become their console one, if anything. But I don't really see this as so much hey, we want to get in on VR for our own stuff. More that they want another unique platform to distribute Game Pass, right? I don't see this so much as Microsoft hedging their bets on VR as I do Microsoft seeing a very unique storefront that they can offer Game Pass and through via xCloud too, and um for Meta, there there aren't a ton of what we'd call like your core games on the Meta Quest, right? Or most VR headsets that you don't have the core games. So this kind of offers Facebook something they don't have, right? And for Microsoft, it offers them another audience of people that they can kind of get. It builds a synergy between the two companies, if that makes sense. And that's more of where I see this. I see this as, maybe one day they partner and there is just VR stuff on the console, and the VR stuff is just done through Oculus, right? You buy an Oculus headset and it just works with your Xbox. You know what I mean? Like that could be the case. Because I really don't see them investing heavily at this time in attempting to grow both a VR market as well as their subscription market, because those two, they won't necessarily feed into each other very well, if that makes sense. Um, they will a little bit, but it's hard, right? Once they have the subscription up and running and have like the audience that they want on it, that's maybe when you see them move to another new market to dive into, and that would be VR, because then they can use their subscription to push the VR. But I just don't see both happening at once. And that's why I see them teaming up with Meta for this, because it gets them into that kind of space without them really having to do much besides get a bespoke app up and running um on the Meta Quest store. And I do think that's a really smart way to do it, because they're not all in on this segment of gaming. It hasn't proven itself as a it's proven itself as a nice niche in gaming. Like I'm not gonna say it's worthless or pointless or anything like that. I don't personally like VR, but that's a personal thing. I know plenty of people who love VR, right? And I just think that VR is too much in its infancy for them to be chasing VR directly, and by doing it in this way with their service that is also still in its, I don't want to say it's in its infancy anymore. It's more like it's in its adolescence or even in its teenage years, right? It's almost a grown up. Not quite there yet. It's smarter to still have this being the core thing that you're trying to push and get consumers to adopt, rather than trying to have two things. So teaming up with Oculus, who is the market leader in VR currently, like they are insane when it comes to VR. The adoption rate. I actually was kind of shocked how many they were able to sell during the pandemic era. It made sense because people were at home, but it was still a larger number than I expected. So seeing
Sorry, how much?
it was, I think it's in the like tens of millions, I believe.
Oh, wow.
I will look that up and get the exact amount, but it was more than I would have expected. Um, uh, More than I would have expected. Yeah, so in 2021, in November of 2021, they had shipped 10 million units. In July of this year, it's 14.8 million. So probably over 15 million MetaQuests, specifically the MetaQuest 2, right? Not including the first Quest. The MetaQuest 2 has sold probably 15 million units at this point.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's much higher than I expected for VR, and no other VR headset has really hit those numbers. That's kind of because Oculus has they have a lot of really good VR developers under their hood. PlayStation could pull similar numbers. They have also acquired a bunch of very talented VR devs. Insomniac, they haven't used Insomniac yet, but Insomniac's insane with VR. Some of their stuff that they did with Oculus back in the late or in the mid 2010s was excellent. But I just don't. I don't see it being wise for Microsoft to try to push too experimental um, two different experimental growing phase things at the same time, right? Better to focus on one and piggyback off of someone else's for the other. Does that make sense? And they're growing their own subscription service while piggybacking off of Meta to have a space in this space. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if down the line we find out that there are multiple headsets that you can just use with the Xbox later. I'm not even talking soon, maybe not even this generation, right? But I wouldn't be shocked to hear that instead of going in on a proprietary one, they say, yeah, your MetaQuest, you can hook that up and use it on your Xbox as like a default headset because of the Windows. I think it's called Windows Mixed Reality.
Yeah.
I think that's the protocol. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's the route they went and just kind of at this point didn't invest heavily in that space except for putting this content on it. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the Bethesda content that has VR content continue to get updates as well, because Bethesda does have fairly good VR capabilities. But I don't think internally they have enough of a VR presence to do anything currently, if that makes sense. Like it's really only a few of the Bethesda studios that have VR knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there have been Xbox studios that have dabbled with VR, but they haven't really gone hardcore. I mean, heck, even 343 was contemplating. I know that they've had some little tests of their own for like Halo VR, which actually kind of looked interesting. But that's about it, right? None of them have really gone all out, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think the only major Xbox game currently that has VR support, like good VR support, that's been published directly under Microsoft is Flight Sim has VR support, does it not?
I think so, yes.
Like that would be insane for that game in particular, because like you're flying a plane, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think if I recall correctly, that has VR support on PC. And again, I wouldn't be shocked to hear that they dabble in VR first on PC, and it comes to console once they've kind of had a big enough impact on it. But again, I think that they want to hedge their bets on Oculus basically making this space viable, if that makes sense. Because they have. Like, Oculus 15 million MetaQuest 2s sold is nothing to scoff at in the VR space. That's significantly more than any VR headset ever has.
And
like, by a lot.
They are investing, guys. Did you see the studios that they announced that they acquired as well?
Yeah, like Armature was one of them, right?
Armature, the Recore developer. Camouflage, which did Iron Man VR, which from what I understand was all right. And Microsoft or Xbox studio Twisted Pixel.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh yeah.
Like Twisted Pixel.
I thought they wanted to be independent. I guess not.
Well, that's what a lot of them say, right? But
so what? Obsidian said that until like a month before they were acquired. So did Double Fine. So did Bungie. They all want to be independent until they get a check that they can't refuse, right? That's just how it is.
Yeah, but Twisted Pixel was a weird one. Like, a lot of Xbox guys, love Twisted Pixel, but then it was like Loco Cycle came out, and then after that it was like, it was just bad timing for Twisted Pixel, and they wanted to make VR games, so that was that. Actually, apparently that's all they've been doing.
I genuinely didn't know anything about Twisted Pixel. I'm looking them up right now.
They did Splosion Man, The Maw.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see that.
They do
Comic.
Didn't they do that Connect
game too?
Oh, the Gunstringer. That was good. That was a good one.
That was the best game.
Mm-hmm. No, that was a really good one. I still have it actually. That's a really good one. No, they make good use of that technology. From Kinect, and then it made sense that they would want to play around with VR. I was just surprised that they stuck with VR permanently. I don't think they've made more traditional games since.
Their last 4 games have all been for 3 were for the Oculus Rift, so it works on the Quest, and then One was for the Oculus Go.
Damn.
Yeah, they haven't made since they left Microsoft. They haven't made a non-Oculus game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes sense then. But these are like three interesting studios that they picked up. I mean, I wasn't sure how serious they were going to be in gaming, but it looks like they're starting to step things up, which is, Google just kind of shut down things. They weren't really serious, but it looks like Meta might make some plays. So, I just find that interesting. Like Tim, what do you think with this whole Meta Microsoft partnership? Because again, it looks like Xbox is again trying to expand cloud gaming and so on.
Yeah, I think more or less, I do think this is more of an enterprise move than say a gaming move, because VR has a lot of applications. Um, I don't know what the exact uh, collaboration is, but I don't think this. If you think this is going to be the thing that gets Xbox into console space and have it supported, that's just not reality. The reality is more of an enterprise move, like I said, partnership with Meta, to see some kind of console support. Highly doubt it. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think, as we pointed out before, you know, just in general, um, VR is very raw, and personally, I'm happy Xbox's Lewis Studios are all doing Xbox games for the console. I'd rather have that type of leadership and direction than mix mocks of both. So I don't have a problem with Sony handling VR. The cloud partnership, of course, there's going to be a lot of things in the cloud and gaming that you'll see in the future, especially when it really starts to get better. But with VR and with console, with everything. But in general, I don't think you should extrapolate a lot from what it is if you're a console gamer. And I'd say the majority of the people that listen to us are just Xboxers, and we're not going to be the company, or Xbox is not going to be the company if you want to be a hardcore VR guy. You can get it on PC, of course, but if VR is your thing, I'd recommend definitely Sony or PC. But Xbox, they're going for the traditional gaming and gaming on a cloud console mobile device.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I agree with you on that. And again, it makes sense, especially with what happened last gen, that they want to stick to the traditional gamer and so on. I get it. I totally get it from Xbox's end. So, but it just again, it's interesting that they're making these partnerships, and again, I think they could be very fruitful and so on by expanding this way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to see Meta, and they do have a good relationship. So in the future, if VR actually ever becomes a thing where it's I would say there's a couple of things that need to be done. Wireless, you have to have a visor for visibility other than the VR. You don't want to be shut off of the world for safety reasons. Certain stuff like that, like a slider or something like that, uh, where I don't see it really booming off, at least for the next 10 years. I mean, maybe in 10 years it'd be something to talk about. But for me, I'd rather game on a device, to be honest. And sometimes VR it, but I don't want that to be the primary, uh, source of entertainment for myself.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Shifting over to you, General MLD. Do you agree with what Crusader and Timmy are saying? Like, what do you think about again this Meta Microsoft partnership? Because again, it looks like it could lead to some pretty good things with xCloud gaming going over, like with Game Pass going over to VR.
It's just as an Xbox fan that just wants to see the brand grow, it is good news in that regard. But as someone who primarily games on console Xbox, obviously this doesn't really appeal to me as much on a personal level. It's more of a collaborative effort, which hey, that's fine with me. If anything, that's exactly how I want them to handle this. I want them to partner up with someone else and grow the ecosystem that way. I don't want Xbox spraying out their resources thin between VR and acquisitions and traditional gamepad based games. I think we all kind of okay. I don't want to upset anybody who liked Connect, okay? I thought it was a good thing back in the day. It has purposes, but I think a lot of Xbox fans, I think if you were to choose between making more Connect games or devoting that research and development and resources to making more gamepad based exclusives, I think most core gamers would pick, more gamepad based exclusives. So I think, yeah, Xbox should not get into VR just yet. Let the market grow. Oculus, Meta, they're doing their thing. Let them grow. Let them grow the market. They'll do the grunt work. Xbox can always go in whenever it's been proven or whenever they got their eggs all set with the acquisitions and Xbox first parties cranking out games at a steady pace. When all that is all said and done and it's all working well, the studios are being managed, we're getting tons of games every year. And if you got some money to spare on the side, okay, let's go into VR. But right now, they're doing exactly what I want them to do, which is just collaborate and stick to the resources to where the fans want them to stick with, and that's just traditional gamepad based exclusives. So yeah, that's my take.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, hey, I totally get where you're coming from. Absolutely. How about you, Centurion? What are your thoughts on this? Meta, Microsoft. Yeah, this is a pretty big partnership, I would say. But again, just to see xCloud gaming getting expanded over to the MetaQuest VR headset and so on, and Game Pass. Lots of opportunities there. What's your take on it?
Well, I hope I don't offend anybody, but let's start with the take on, Xbox promised somewhere, somehow back in the Xbox One X design that there was going to be some kind of a VR. And that got nixed real quick because I'm with Phil Spencer on that. VR is not where at least I would like it to be, where he would like it to be. It involves a lot of proverbials, equipment, wires. We've jokingly in certain crowds call it the electric octopus because of just how many cords were involved, especially with the PSVR 1. Looking at some of the titles like the Horizon Zero Dawn VR game, it's Horizon Zero Dawn, but it does not look anything like a console version of Horizon Zero Dawn. It looks like a very rudimentary version of it because it's VR. I mean, it's good to see that Xbox is wanting to at least dabble and do some partnerships and see what VR has to offer. I've always been one of those to say that Xbox should allow somebody like the Oculus to come in and handle the hardware support, at least for VR on the Microsoft side, because I mean, General MLD kind of hit the nail on the head. We're putting all this time, effort, and money into an emerging concept. PlayStation, I'm sorry, but if you want to see the woes of VR, look at PlayStation. I'm not trying to dig at them, but there has been an extreme amount of output, money, and time for very little return. I think, Tim Dog, am I right? It wasn't only 5% of the entire
Yeah,
PlayStation ecosystem even interested in VR.
5 million
yeah,
sold.
it was. They supposedly sold around. I mean, they said 5 million.
Yeah, it was like 5 million at the time with 100 million sold, so
Yeah,
that puts it at
100
5%.
The last reported number was 5 million in 2019, so it's probably a little bit more than that now.
But
Um,
that
but
that
that's
just
the last
speaks for
recorded.
itself. It just speaks for itself that, for as vast as the PlayStation ecosystem is, the PSVR is an itty bitty little speck of that ecosystem. So I could see why Microsoft is letting other people do it. I mean, we've all seen how invested Meta is with VR and how much time and money they want to put into VR because they have this grandiose scale and vision for what they want VR to be. So they're gonna let Microsoft is gonna sit back, create some partnerships, see what can be come of this. I mean, we've all seen how Microsoft worked together with Sony to use some of their lens technology when they signed that deal with Azure. We could see this partnership with Meta blossom into something where Microsoft learns how to make better VR sets. We've all seen the concepts of some of the stuff that VR is. I mean, Microsoft has patented for VR by putting sensors up in the room and like building off of the Kinect, like creating and like instead of the Kinect being a device that just sits in the front of your television and maps you now put the sensors located around the entire room, and now you're mapping the entire room. So Microsoft has some pretty interesting concepts on the direction they want to take VR. I just see them wanting to put more, letting others put the effort into it, while Microsoft right now concentrates on Game Pass, building up the Xbox ecosystem, getting some studios finally locked down and creating content on a more regular basis. Microsoft has their hands full with what they've already created and are trying to create. And they don't need the idea of VR to kind of get in the way of all that. I'm pretty sure VR will have its time with Microsoft, but until then, I can completely see why they're letting somebody like Meta handle all the big heavy lifting when it comes to getting VR as a more mainstream idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's a fair point as well. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of different perspectives on this, and I appreciate them all. Again, VR, it's a very um, a small percentage of the gaming scene, the gaming market. I mean, I'm sure it will grow. I'm one of those guys that, again, I like VR, but like I don't have a headset for my PlayStation just because, well, I'm not a big fan of wires personally. Like, I don't know, that's just my thing, guys. I don't like to be tied down, but.
That, I
Mhm.
mean, that's what I was want. I think VR will become mainstream when it involves a lot less wires and it's less cumbersome. I honestly see VR headsets should be more like a set of glasses that you put on your eyes, not a big ass motorcycle helmet.
Also more social. The fact that it's mostly single player kind of stuff, it can never truly grow unless there's a real social element into it, like a multiplayer kind of thing. But
Mhm.
that's just
Too.
yeah.
It's not going to get something like Call of Duty and those type of people to massively connect. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
It's intrusive a little, and I always think it's a good additive device, preferential as they would say. But I like Xbox's approach. Put it that way. I'd rather them spend money on making Fallout than some VR game.
Mhm.
Well, I guess at least in my mind, the best way to describe it in my head is there's a lot of people that climb mountains as enjoyment. There's a lot of people out there that play games for enjoyment. Not everyone is climbing Mount Everest, and not everybody is playing VR because those are just a very niche, small group of people in a much bigger market, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it absolutely does, Centurion, and yeah, again, we'll see. As time goes on, as the technology improves, how things go, and we'll get better games as time goes on. Like again, I just once you have the right developers working on certain games for VR, and they get their hands on it, then again, you'll start to see the fruits of it. Again, we'll see what happens, with armature, camouflage, and even twisted pixel under Meta's arm. We'll see what kind of games they make. But yeah, until then, we still got some time for the technology to grow. But yeah, guys, we'll move on to our next topic in a minute. But hey, just remember to smash the like button and hey, sub to the channel if you're new, because again, we would love to have you stick around and share this out. Let everybody know that we're live, because hey, sometimes the notifications don't work. YouTube can be funny that way. And we just want to have more people kind of chime in the chat and just get involved. But yeah, with that said, guys, let's move on to our last bit of news. But hey, it's a pretty juicy one. It's a pretty juicy one at that. And as everybody knows by now, Xbox's Phil Spencer, well, he loves to tease things. That Phil, he's a teaser, especially by placing things on his shelf. Well, in a Twitter post celebrating Bethesda's 25th anniversary? Yeah, 25th anniversary of the Fallout franchise. Phil posted a picture of his shelf, and on the top shelf is a device that we haven't seen before, but it kind of looks like the Xbox Series S. It's white, but it's not quite like it in a lot of ways. It's by the size of it. Many are speculating that this is the Xbox Keystone streaming device, but again, I guess time will tell. Tim, buddy, I'll head to you first on this one. Phil definitely loves to tease things, so this just can't be random by him. Do you believe that we will see an official announcement of this streaming device soon? Or, because again, I can't imagine him just kind of putting it out there just for nothing.
Yeah, I do think this has been a long time. A long time in going. I heard at one time it was a real focus. Like, they thought they can get away with just having this. So, the fact of the matter is that you see what they're doing. They're integrating in TV. They're integrating in PC. That metaverse thing that just came out. I don't know. It's Metaforce or whatever it's called. So this is a logical step. I think that was a prototype, but I think it's probably realistic. You probably have a spot for the wireless card and some, some, Ethernet to get the, but a very small device probably could hide behind your TV or on top of your TV. For him to show that means that I think that it's possible release this year, this holiday. But yeah, it's coming. It's coming just like, it's Xbox coming to LG, and their television suites and stuff like that. Their plan is to get as many people on the cloud as possible, as many gamers as they can be. And quite frankly, judging by the TV, I do think this device, if you wire it or Ethernet, is suitable to game on. Like, if it's $99, at the end of the day, if you can get $99 in a free membership or a membership for $15 a month, and you're getting games on a regular basis, even though that you're just on the cloud, it's it's a very good device. Think about it. And it's going to be $99 most likely, and it just it's part of their vision, and that's why he put it up. I don't think it's. I think he did it for a reason. He might have jumped the gun a little, but yeah, they see. You just gotta listen to what they talk about. 3 billion gamers, so nothing's. I do think they'll have it. I could see it be on certain T-Mobile or certain networks where they have they come to an agreement, and you could see some of that stuff. Like it's going to be all over the place. It's going to be on your phone natively. It's going to be on your TV. You can plug it in just like a Chromecast. Their vision is broad. And it's encompassing, and this is just all part of the gradual step to it. But for him to show it means it's close to being ready. So I do think a holiday could come out, or it can come out next year.
All right. All right. Yeah, because I mean, again, with Phil kind of teasing this, it seems like it's just around the corner. And if he's teasing it, I have a feeling he's excited about it. You know what I mean? Like he
I
wouldn't
don't
just
think
put
he
it out
was
there.
supposed to do that, to be honest.
He was not. He got yelled at.
What are they gonna do? Fire him?
Yeah.
No.
Sometimes Phil does that though, and
Yeah,
he,
but
you know,
I can appreciate that though, just being excited about
it's a
something,
game. Yeah,
right? Like,
I think he's trying to give us something.
Yeah. I mean, if there's no big games coming out, it's nice to tease some kind of new hardware that's coming down the pipeline, right? So,
Right.
Keeps us talking.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, really, we've had a lot to talk about too, especially within the past month or so. But Crusader, but I mean, I'll hit you up next on this. What do you think about this? I guess according to some sources, Phil wasn't supposed to be teasing this, but he did. He did.
Yeah, from what I can gather, this is a prototype, and it's an older prototype of what they're going to be doing. It's an older prototype, and he put it on his desk because he was given the older prototype as like a keepsake, and he didn't think about it when it was in the shop, and it was shown. I do think it's coming out next year. Jez Corden had reported earlier this year that the Keystone is not coming this year, and so I'm inclined to believe it will be officially revealed next summer. But I'm excited for it. I said on my social media that I will buy one for my bedroom as long as it has, and it's supposed to, according to both Tom Warren and Jez Corden, it is supposed to have the capability to have the other like streaming service apps on it, like your Disney Pluses, your Netflixes and stuff. And so it's at its core, it's like a Roku, right? But it can also do the Game Pass stuff. And instead of just having Bluetooth, it'll have the proprietary Xbox communication protocol, which is why controllers feel better when they're synced to an Xbox than they do when they're synced over Bluetooth to any other device, because Bluetooth sucks, right? It's not a very good like gaming protocol, right? It's designed for what it's designed for. It's not designed for extremely low input latency, right? Like what we need with gaming peripherals. So the fact that this device would have all of the crap that you could ever want to stream on it video wise, and then also the gaming stuff with protocols that would actually make some things, you could get rid of some of the latency issues, because at least you'd be taking your actual controllers talking to whatever device you have it hooked up to. You'd be taking those latency things out of the picture, because you're always going to have, at least based on how current computing works, you're always going to have latency when you're streaming stuff from a data center, because data, you can have as big of a bandwidth as you want. You could have 10 gigabit per second internet, right? But that doesn't really matter when you're streaming. You need a certain amount. You need at least 20 megabit for the Microsoft streaming. You need a little bit more depending on how many devices you have on your network. If you have a bunch of devices on your network, you want to be up to like 50 megabit, maybe 100 megabit. It depends really on how far you are from the data center you're connecting to, because there is a physics problem of getting the data from point A to point B, what your ping is to that data center, how long it takes the data packet to get from point A to point B. And if that takes too long, you're going to see input latency, and that's the biggest thing that's going to be a problem with this. And that's why you see people have such wildly different results when it comes to this, and it's something that Microsoft is basically going to have to push to open more data centers worldwide to solve this problem. But for most of us, we live in pretty large urban centers. And for me, it's not an issue. I live close enough to a data center that it doesn't matter for me. It streams just fine. So I will absolutely be getting one of these things day one to hook up in my bedroom. because I don't need a full console in my bedroom. I have my full console in the entertainment center, right? If I have it in my bedroom, I can replace my aging Roku, and I can stream all of video. I can stream, and it'll be great. It just needs to have like certain functionality, and I really hope they're going all in on the video processing capabilities inside, so that like even though it might not be able to stream games in 4K because that's a lot of data to send, you would actually need gigabit internet if you wanted to actually stream the game in 4K because of how large the data packets would be. But I want to be able to stream my movies and my TV shows in higher qualities, At least like I want to stream them in 4K. I want to have HDR, I want to have all that kind of stuff. So I really hope that the onboard video processing and like it's actual, they don't skimp on like the capabilities of the device on the streaming side, because I think for a device like this it's just as important to have the games streaming as it is to have these TV film things streaming, because if you're going to sell this device, you want it to be useful, right? You don't want to just target gamers with it. And this goes back hilariously to 2013, right? Where it was TV. And with the console, that's a bad thing because a gaming console is primarily for gamers. But this kind of device, it's going to be hard to sell it to just gamers because consoles and gaming PCs exist. So it's really going to actually need that TV hilariously. Almost what, 10 years later it'll be, right? And so, I'm sitting here and I'm begging for something that we hated in 2013, But it really does have to have that, and that's really what I do want from it, I want to be able to play both games and TV film from this, because it's always going to be superior to onboard smart TV capabilities. Because I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but a lot of times smart TVs, especially after a little bit of time when the apps get updated and everything, the apps get real slow. And that doesn't really happen with a Roku-like device, right? Except if the Roku itself is getting like 5 to 6 years old. So I really, really do want this device to come out the gate and come out hot and come out ready. So I'm ready for it.
All right. Very insightful. Yeah, no, that'd be a very good use for it. General MLD, buddy, I mean, I'll go to you next on this. I mean, sometimes Phil does these cheeky little leaks, and hey, you know what? Caught off a lot of attention. I don't know, what's your take on the streaming device? Again, we've known about it for a little while now through various leaks over the past year or so, but I don't know, seems to be coming. What are your thoughts on this streaming device?
Well, first, the shelf does not lie. So this isn't the last time the shelf will give away something from the future. But overall, I think it's a necessity for Xbox to grow. It's part of their whole like multi-tiered ecosystem approach, which I'm totally on board with. I've even used xCloud myself lately. Like I got my Series X in the basement. I got my Xbox One X upstairs in the living room. Sometimes when I'm just with the family. I don't want. I want to be around them at the same time, even if I'm gaming a little bit. So I used xCloud on Deathloop earlier this month, and it actually worked pretty good. Like there was a minor refresh here and there, but overall, sometimes it almost looked exactly like I was playing it on the Series X. So I think it's definitely improved on at least streaming on consoles. I haven't used it on phones or tablets yet. Maybe that's a different experience, but I think the tech's definitely getting better, that they're getting closer to a proper box reveal / release sometime next year. Because I think Stadia, they jumped the gun. I'm not going to talk about their business strategy. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's more like, I feel like they came a little too soon to the market before the market was ready to really embrace them. xCloud is still in beta, and they're waiting until the product is just right before they make it official, like the 1.0, and announce the box and put it to market. And they're going to wait for that right opportunity, and I'm totally on board with that. And I think next year might be a good time to do that. It's got to be cheap though. It's got to be like less than $100, and it should include non-gaming apps too, like Crusader said, like it needs like a Netflix app yeah, whatever apps you need. It can't just be about Game Pass. Otherwise, the broader market you're trying to reach might not go for it. It needs that multi-layered approach at the same time. Now, like it just makes me think now in 2023, like you got the acquisition closing, you got Starfield, Redfall, all these games, and now you got this coming out. Like Xbox will be hitting on multiple fronts. This is gonna be shaping up to be like arguably maybe Xbox's best year ever. Fingers crossed if they play their cards right. But I think this can really work. This streaming box, I think it's most effective. Like like say in Crusader's example, you use it as like a secondary box, like in your bedroom or something. But I think it can really work in countries with a high mobile, low console, and even low Xbox adoption rate. So countries like like maybe South Korea, countries like Japan, where maybe $100 or less streaming Xbox box might actually be a really good fit for certain countries and certain markets. And I think Xbox knows that. If these countries don't want to drop $500 on a Series X, hey, okay, how about $100? And if you have a good internet connection, you're all set. So I think that's what it's all about. But ultimately, for people listening, like for someone who doesn't really use xCloud, I play games natively on my Series X. Why should we care? And the answer, I think, is very simple. Every one of these boxes that gets sold is an extra Game Pass subscriber right there. And ultimately, it's a snowball effect. More Game Pass subs, whether it's console, PC, or streaming box, it means more investment. And more investment means more day one games for everybody. And therefore, we all benefit. So we should all be cheering on this success for this streaming box whenever it gets announced officially, because ultimately, the better it does, we all win. As long as, if we're Game Pass subscribers, that is. So, hey, take their time, but I'm confident they'll do pretty well once they know it's ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and you bring good points, especially just with the ecosystem overall, for sure. Definitely expanding that way and hitting all those points. Again, I always thought of the Xbox ecosystem as this, it's taken its time, but it's been this multi-pronged approach to gaming, and I think it's really starting to take off for Microsoft. I think they're going to be seeing the fruits of that very, very soon. Uh, Again, Google just didn't have. I don't know. It's weird. Google is certainly a weird case. Interesting technology that they put forward, but man, they just did not have the guts to go forward. Very weird. Centurion, I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. This box, this supposedly the Keystone device, a streaming device. It's again, it's creating a lot of chatter. And I don't know, do you agree with the guys? Do you think we'll hear something about it soon, considering Phil kind of put a spotlight on it?
Well, all right. So Crusader said probably summer of next year. There's a part of me that thinks Game Awards, like at the earliest, purely because we saw the reveal of the Series X and the Series S there. We've seen some pretty monumental things, at least on Xbox's side, revealed over on the Game Awards in December. And can you blame them? I mean, the streaming market is getting extremely large. Shameless plug, I did a video on this, like just before 2018, the streaming market revenue was just under $28 billion. By 2026, it's going to be over $129 billion. There is a lot of money to be made in streaming. And Xbox is really deciding to diversify. I think it's interesting that Crusader brings up a Roku. Is anybody on the panel other than me and him using a Roku?
No.
Okay. So getting a Roku helped cut the cable very easily. I have access to Hulu. Hulu provides all of my basic television it has been a blessing to get rid of the cable, to get rid of cable television and satellite. I was a satellite customer for a very long time, and I got tired of my bill going up, consistently going up. And I mean, like every couple of months, my bill would go up. My Hulu price has remained the same for almost a year and a half now. It's been really great. And on a Roku device, you have these screensavers that pop up, and the screensavers are like advertisements. I mean, they're advertising stuff for Roku, and the different services that basically partner up with Roku for these advertisements. So there's advertising revenue that can be generated with these devices. On top of that, Microsoft has, outside of the games, Microsoft has a pretty hefty online library of movies and television shows. By creating a device like this, you will now have instant access to the Microsoft Store and your digital libraries. For us that have already invested into that ecosystem and purchasing content, we will now be able to get to that content without having to have an Xbox console or a PC. And it goes beyond that. Like, obviously, as cloud gaming, as we touched on, gets better, we could start seeing Game Pass. It is basically giving Microsoft a window to the consumers of the Xbox ecosystem. You could literally be walking by, not a gamer, and one of your little screensavers pops up and shows you a game that piques your interest, and all of a sudden you now want to get an Xbox or get on the PC and check out the ecosystem. And it's kind of like, hook, line, and sinker. You're reeling them in, you're fishing for them, and this is just another avenue for that. The device itself, the Keystone, I did on my video on the thumbnail, I did a mock-up of it, and the funny part is I used the Xbox One S all digital edition, because this goes back to a long time ago, and Tim Dog was probably there on that episode with Dealer Gaming, where Brad Sams came out and said that he had personally seen the Keystone device and it looked like an Xbox One S. And that is what we saw on the top of the shelf. This is definitely for sure an early prototype of that device. They have probably now either scaled it down, or they have decided to go in and change some of the technology. When that device was originally created, machine learning was something that was not very mainstream. Now, machine learning is something that is a very big deal, especially when it comes to streaming and being able to get games and other things running in a more optimized level, because machine learning is able to fill in those bits and pieces. I really do hope this device does hit that $100 price point, because I mean, that is going to get a lot of people into the Xbox ecosystem, at least as a complete, just, I don't even want to say the term casual, but somebody that just wants this device because of what it's going to offer, and it's going to slowly bring them closer and closer into being fully invested into the Xbox ecosystem and everything else that Microsoft can offer with this device. I want to get one of these devices because we all know that we have those moments where we travel and we want to pack our consoles with us. We also know those nightmarish videos where you go and watch on YouTube and some guy's walking around with his Xbox One X, I mean, not One X, his Xbox Series X, and he drops the thing in the driveway because he's carrying it around. I mean, this is a device that would fit in a backpack. You would be able to comfortably put it somewhere safer. And if you did happen to, Butterfinger and drop the thing into a driveway, going to replace it is not going to be as a major detrimental thing to your wallet. And we all know, especially with internet, as long as you have, I think they said that cloud gaming would work on like 25 megabits a second. You would have a somewhat rudimentary gameplay experience with this device that I would be able to enjoy from a hotel room or a family member's house that has Wi-Fi. The sky's the limit with this device. It's going to open up a whole new avenue of money for Microsoft, and also advertising, marketing, getting people aware of what the brand can offer. It's going to be very interesting times going forward, especially next year if we have all these game launches, service launches, and now this device to add on top of it. I'm really excited.
Mm-hmm. No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, I agree with you. And while I'm not, again, the biggest, I don't, or I should say, I don't have like the biggest interest in streaming. There's a lot of people who can take advantage of that more so. Again, there's a few on the panel that are really keen on it, and that's awesome, honestly. So I really do hope that.
What do you mean by streaming games or streaming movies?
Just games.
Okay.
I mean, we can do that. I mean, well, okay, I guess as the entire package, but like, I'm just talking about like another device in like this multi-pronged trident or whatever you want to call it. That again, that Microsoft and Xbox are bringing forward here, right?
So to really talk about the benefit of this device, at least for me on my level, is I actually have a Roku that I travel with when I leave. And like having a device or a system like this that is set up for your entertainment, no matter what TV you're hooking this thing up to in the United States, it is literally bringing your entertainment with you. And it's literally like bringing a little bit of home with you. It's not like when you get into your hotel room and now you got to figure out what they have to offer. Is it cable? Is it satellite? You know, where's your favorite channels? Is anything even available that you're going to enjoy? You literally plug this device in, tap into the Wi-Fi network, and it's like your TV from home is now with you, and you just get a little bit more added comfort to wherever you're at.
Hmm. All right. All right. No, I get that. No, that's cool. That's cool. Either way, I mean that this streaming device, it sounds pretty cool, and I hope they officially reveal it very soon, very soon. But guys, something else of note, which kind of ties into the Microsoft ecosystem. What do you guys think of the Xbox Game Pass revenue details coming out of the Brazil Council documents? Obviously, with the ongoing things going on here, it's pretty crazy. Apparently, Game Pass is making some pretty big bucks. Who would have thought, huh?
You mean the data that the companies are furious released to the public? It's been redacted again, by the way. They had to take the document down and re-redact it. Not that that does anything. That information was not supposed to be given to us. And it's wild. It's a lot of money.
Well, I mean, that's what you would expect. I mean, if you're Microsoft and Xbox, you would hope to be making some big cash. It was reported that, well, okay, first of all, they didn't mention Game Pass in name. They said subscription services, but you know it's Game Pass. And
Game Pass and Gold.
yeah, exactly. And it was to the tune of $2.9 billion in 2021. So basically $3 billion. That's pretty nuts.
They have 5 million more subscribers for Game Pass now. Additionally, it's unclear for the document as to whether or not it was referencing PC as well. It said consoles, but then it also made references to PC elsewhere. So we're not sure what that graph actually represents. It may not include PC subscriptions, which is wilder to think about. And it also doesn't include 5 million subs that they got in between 2021 and 2022. Because at the beginning of this year, they announced that they are at 25 million subs, and that was in January, I think.
I remember us covering it, but I'm kind of forgetting the
check.
number personally.
Yeah, you're right.
It was 25 million, Tim?
Yeah, it's 25 million.
Okay.
More than that now.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
obviously it's more than that now. Probably somewhere in I would argue probably like 28 range. Just because this year's been slow. There hasn't been a ton to attract new. You know.
Well, again, once Starfield hits and a few of the others, bam.
Well, I think literally once like it could even start with this month. I don't know. This month has a lot going for it, right? We had Scorn already, which was hit or miss for some people, right? But we had Scorn already. We have Plague Tale 2 days from now. Yes.
Something like that, yeah.
Plague Tale's on the 18th, and we have the Persona 5 Royal. I don't know if there's another subtitle for the new version, but Persona 5 Royal coming out later in the month. And
Even
so
Riot games coming to PC Game Pass, I think.
yeah, that's coming too. I think is that coming this month?
That I thought it was November or December. To be
Okay,
honest.
yeah. See, I was saying it could start this month. It
Yeah.
really depends on what they have lined up for November and December, but it's definitely going to start with next year when they're going to start popping off with.
We have High on Life for November.
Is it in November? Okay.
Yep. Like
No,
there's
Yeah,
gonna be
Playing
big titles in
requisite next
November.
week.
It was delayed
Yeah.
to December, wasn't it?
December, yeah.
It's
Oh, now
December.
it's December.
Yeah, I thought it
can't
was
see.
supposed to come out at the end of this month originally. I thought.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
got
it was
delayed.
supposed to come out. Actually, it was supposed to come out in September, and then
It was.
I thought November, and maybe
Here,
maybe it was.
I'm
December.
going.
Games
I'm
have
going
been
to the Game
shuffled
Pass
around
counter app.
so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of COVID. A lot of it.
So they have November. All right, November already looks pretty all right. They got Football Manager 2023, which is a pretty big title. A lot of people love that, and we got Pentiment. I'm excited for Pentiment coming out.
Yeah,
in
it sounds
November.
pretty cool, to be honest. What
Yeah,
about
Hello
Dark?
Neighbor and High on Life are in December.
What about on PC Game Pass? Is Dark Tide going there?
PC Dark Tide will be in on November 30th.
Okay.
So that's good for that. Then there's a lot of games that are supposed to be coming winter is what they said, right? Like Solar Ash, Atomic Heart. Atomic Heart is still supposed to be coming out this quote winter, but that includes the 2023 month. The 2023 months. It's supposed to be coming out this quote winter, right? So it's probably not hitting December because they said originally targeting.
I think you'll see it in the
still targeting
spring.
winter.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So I'm thinking January or February. And then we do have the like League of Legends and stuff, Valorant, Legends of Runeterra, all of the Riot games coming to the cloud. So yeah, it really could be starting here in October. This month, with just Persona and Plague Tale, that's big, really big, right? And Persona in particular, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a big JRPG fan. My friends make fun of me because they don't think I'll like Persona, but I do want to give it a shake when I have some free time. I know it's a forever and a half long game.
100 hours.
Yeah, it is turn-based, correct?
Yes.
That's actually pretty good for the mobile services, the streaming services. Turn-based games translate really well into the cloud services, as far as I've found when I've been playing games on them, because input latency literally doesn't matter, right? It's turn-based.
It's also a visual novel. Like you'll be spending like a lot of time just reading through dialogue. So
so
you're right.
It translates really well to the cloud. So I think that's going to be a really big get for the cloud. And so I do think that those numbers could pop off higher this month.
Didn't Redfall supposedly have a leaked date for late March?
Yeah,
Something.
it did. I have trouble believing any form of dates that are leaked by anything because normally they're placeholders. But if it says it's coming in March at this point, that implies to me it's coming at the end of Q1 or Microsoft's Q3. So it may come in late February, it may come in late March, it may come in very early April. I couldn't tell you.
It would have to, I think, because you need Forza in Q2, maybe in the beginning of Q2, and Starfield at the end of Q2.
Yeah. So the thing that they can't Forza they can release alongside anything else, right? Because like the audiences are just not the same. Forza and Halo proved that last fall when like both had really good numbers when both launched, right? Like they didn't. They launched 2.5, 3 weeks apart. I think they can launch Forza on top of one of the other games if they really wanted to. It really wouldn't
Maybe
do
a
anything.
month to be safe.
Yeah, that's what I don't mean literally. I don't mean like the same day, right? Like they can launch them like a month apart and be fine. It's legitimately Redfall and Starfield that they have to separate because they are closer to each other, right? They're not the same genre per se, but they are in some of the same genres. Like they're both first-person shooters. They have other subgenres that separate them, but they do appeal to some of the same audience, so they would have to be more careful with those. But Tim, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
You heard anything about Nexo this year? I'm dying.
No, I think I hate to say it. I think their focus is the Game Awards.
Game Awards? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
just
fine.
because there's so many eyes on Game Awards at this point.
Sure.
It's easy publication. It's easy PR.
They have so much stuff coming into Game
Yeah,
Pass.
they're gonna they have to talk about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so like I was wondering, like, do you think we'll get like a state of play like thing, some state of play style things?
I think honestly, I could see them just blowing out Game Awards.
Okay.
You know,
'Cause-
having a release date for maybe all three of them. Would that
I mean,
be?
they had a lot of segments last year.
I mean, listen, if they could go to, the Game Awards and not even announce a new game, just give hard dates for Forza, Redfall, and Starfield.
That'd be pretty big.
That'd be big. See, I mean, listen, everyone makes fun of Xbox right now, and Xbox has no games and this and that. All these games that they did have were delayed into 2023. You're talking about one of the best years looking on record for Xbox. Atomic Heart, Stalker. What do you got? Stalker. You got the three games that we mentioned.
Here, I'm scrolling through the list for you.
Minecraft Legends, which is probably.
Actually, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a big game, but that's probably going to be, summer. But I mean, or fall, and then you could possibly
everything's supposed to be before June. That was it.
Yeah, you could possibly have Avowed and Hellblade too.
And we have
No.
P3 and P4, Flintlock, Wolong. Like there's a ton of games that are coming, right? It's just like I'd like to see more about all of them because like most of them haven't been shown. Like I'm talking even third party, right? Most of the content that was shown at Xbox's E3 show, we haven't seen much of like any of those games since.
Now, did you guys notice the trademark a couple of days ago that was listed? It was for Project Mara.
Yes. It had a. I will grab the thread real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah, there was a trademark for Project Mara. So I mean, I don't know. You look at the timing, and if they want to put a lot of effort into the Game Awards, if they want to show off a few trailers, I mean, technically that would be an interesting title to do something for.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is a passion project. Like I could see it also releasing in 2023.
Yeah, the trademark was filed in Europe.
Yeah.
It was filed on October 11th.
Yeah, so 5 days ago?
Yeah.
So
I mean, the entire game takes place in like one apartment.
Yeah, it's a small game.
Yeah.
It's more than a passion project. It's a proof of concept when it comes to technology. You know how they're building that game, right?
Oh yeah, like they're like scanning the entire place.
They're using LiDAR. They're using laser mapping like you normally see on like geological surveys. They're actually using LiDAR, mapping it down to like when we talk mapping it down, they showed using it on a piece of leather to show the contour and the grain of a piece of leather or the wood grain on a table. They're making some really, really lifelike looking surfaces. I mean, this is going to be a very interesting game, but I think it's also mostly trying to perfect a new form of doing, at least, you know, if we think about it, we're already using motion capture to make games that have more fluid movements and character detail. And this is just the next level because now you're going to be able to really go in and create some very realistic environments.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I wonder what the horror aspect will be like.
I'm thinking more like paranormal. What was the one of a Paranormal Activity?
Yeah.
Is that am I thinking the correct movie series where like they had the camera set up in the house and just stuff would just happen?
Yeah, like doors would
Yeah.
just open and shut, things like that. And
Yeah, things would change. Like it would be like, a play with camera tricks and stuff like that. I'm thinking it's going to be more like a Paranormal Activity experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, if you had some like really interesting like audio cues as well. Like, you could play up a lot of things, and it just makes me very curious too, right? Because again, it's supposed to be a very psychological game, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. But guys, anything else to add? Yes or no? Okay. All right, guys. I think we'll start to wrap things up for the night. Good show. Good show tonight. Great talk all around, really. I mean, we covered a whole slew of things from Scorn, Microsoft, and some meta news. Phil teasing some hardware, and yeah, just some general banter here towards the end. But I really loved all of it. To all of you that tuned in tonight, it was great to have all of you here. And if you enjoyed tonight's show, then please consider leaving a like, share this show out, and sub to the channel, as again, we would love to have you stick around. Now, with all that said, let's go over to some outros. Starting off with Crusader. But hey, good stuff tonight. As per usual, where can all these awesome people follow you at?
Yeah, you can follow me at Crusader3456 on the Twitters. I have all of my gaming handles in my bio there, as well as a link to my backlog where you can follow my basically journal of everything I play and on like what platforms and what I rate the games and all that stuff. So, yeah.
All right, good stuff. Definitely give him a look there, fellas. Moving on over to General MLD, buddy. Hey, great thoughts, great opinions tonight, as per usual. Where can everybody follow you?
Thank you. You guys can find me at MLD Ghost on Twitter. You can find me almost every day there. Gamer tag is Ghost MLD. And yeah, great show, great commentary, and looking forward to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I'll be curious to see what you think about Scorn once you're done with it.
I'll try and have it done by next weekend, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, me too. I'll put some more time into it tomorrow in the next few days. Moving down here, Tim Dog, pal. Hey, good stuff. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Tim Dog, xCloud Tim Dog. Very easy to find. Great show today. A lot of interesting stuff we talked about. Sorry about that. Yeah, just had a great time, and see you next Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Well said, short and sweet. Moving over to Centurion, buddy. Hey, good stuff. And again, where can everybody find you? I think you're muted.
Yep, I'm muted. Damn it. Thank you everybody for joining us in the chat tonight. It was a great show with you gentlemen. For those interested in finding me, you can find me at Centurion1307, Xbox Live, Twitter, and of course YouTube. You can also find me right here every Sunday night on TXR, and you can also find me on Gaming Beyond the Box with Wilmy Hood and the amazing crew over there every Wednesday night. We're actually doing a show this Wednesday as far as I know. And yeah, be sure to send a like and subscribe for TXR. Invader works hard, and definitely would like to support him as best I can.
Well, it's about supporting us, right?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just one of those things where you do a good job of keeping the lights on in the place, man. So definitely shout out to you.
I do my part like everybody else, but I appreciate it, as I appreciate everybody on the panel. But that said, to round off this wonderful group, you can find my content on YouTube at Invader Gaming. Also, check me out on Twitter at Invader_1986. As hey, hit me up if you want to start a convo. Fantastic show, and we look forward to seeing you all here next week. Also, check out our Twitter in the coming days for something, well, pretty cool. I think you'd all approve of it. Later, everyone. Have a good one.